Hey guys, so for today's video I have a speed painting of the blue fairy from Pinocchio for you, and I'm going to be talking about my inspiration for this piece and my inspiration for when I first started painting and drawing. But before I start talking about inspiration, I wanted to go through the thought process I had before I began this painting. So recently I've been very busy with my schoolwork, with the shop, commissions, and trying to be a normal human being with a social life. And so I've been putting out very sketchy paintings and drawings, things that I haven't put a lot of work into them. And I had an epiphany about how I'm not really improving my art. I'm just at a standstill, just because I'm very busy with life and I have a lot more followers right now. I kind of feel like I don't have anything to improve, and that's totally false. So I wanted to paint something that had a lot more detail and was a little bit more realistic. Try to improve a little bit, put more effort into this. And so I decided that I wanted to paint a fairy, and it wasn't going to be like a Disney kind of fairy. It was more like a Lord of the Rings type thing. And I knew that I wanted her to have a wand with like crystals on it. So I quickly googled fairy wand, and the first thing that popped up was the kind of little toy wand that little girls play with when they dress up like a princess or a fairy. And at first I was like, okay, I needed to be more specific. I needed to put crystal fairy wand in and look at more specialized kind of things. But the more I looked through the wands and I kept seeing this one wand with a star on it, I immediately remembered that the blue fairy from Pinocchio has this kind of wand, and I remembered her design, and I thought, well, you know, maybe I could vamp her up a little bit. And I looked up her design, and then I quickly looked up to see if there was any fan art of her, and there isn't really a lot of fan art for her. There's a lot of drawings, but not a lot of paintings, you know? Especially, I didn't really see any real digital paintings, so I decided to paint her. Okay, so that was my thought process about why I decided to paint the blue fairy, but there's emotional reasons why I decided to paint her as well, which is what I'm going to talk about for the inspiration for this piece. And I quickly wanted to let you know that I started painting this in black and white just so I could focus on only the values and the lighting and the details, rather than also worrying about the colors and if they were going to become muddy, because I didn't really know exactly what specific colors I wanted for this piece yet. So if you're curious on how I transform my paintings from black and white to color, I have a video on that. It should pop up on the screen right now. And if you're curious on any lighting tips, how to properly light your paintings, I also have a video on that discussing my tips for lighting. And if you're curious about how to combine color and lighting together effectively and how they work together, I also have another video on that. So all the videos will be up on the screen. Please check those out if you have any questions. And I used a reference photo of myself for her pose in her hands. And if you want to know how to use reference photos, I have a video that is talking about combining reference with your imagination. So that will also be on the screen. Please check that out if you have any questions. And this painting took 10 hours and 4 sittings, just to let you know, so it took quite a while. Okay, so I'm going to explain the emotional connection I have with this piece. So looking at my name, you might probably recognize that it's not an American name. So I'm not originally American, which is true. I was born in Romania. And when I was small, my mom read me the Romanian version of the Russian novel Buratino, and that is basically like Pinocchio. It's a little bit different, but it was written 50 years after the original book Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi was written. And it's pretty similar, but I don't know, it's like a Russian Pinocchio. And when I was small, I really liked the book. It was kind of captivating and it was very interesting. And when I became a little bit older, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 or 11, I decided to read the original Pinocchio book by Carlo Collodi. And the book that I picked up for me when I was small, I didn't really read except if a book had a really nice cover illustration or if it had illustrations in it. And the book that I picked up was illustrated by Chris Grimley, and that book is amazing. I love the illustrations so much, and I really liked the whole book Pinocchio because of the illustrations. And then I also saw the movie, and the thing that stuck out to me in the books was the fairy with the turquoise hair. And it's a little bit different from the movie, because in the movie you have the fairy appear at the beginning and at the middle or something, or at the end. I don't really remember, I haven't seen it in a while. But you don't see her a lot, and she just appears to Pinocchio whenever at random times. But in the book, she lives in the woods, and the way the book writes it is the fairy with the turquoise hair. That's her name. And she adopts Pinocchio as her brother and then her son in the books. And it's very interesting. It's a little bit different from the movies. So I kind of have this I grew up kind of with Buratino and then Pinocchio and the illustrations. And I always liked the fairy because I know this is going to be like reading very deep into it, especially for the movie, so I'm sorry, it's kind of a little bit stupid. But whenever I saw the movie or when I read the books, she appeared for such a short little amount of time that she was very mysterious to me because, I mean, let's talk about the movie. She has so much power that she can breathe life into a wooden puppet and then turn him into a real boy once she deems that he's earned it. And she's super benevolent, right? She has a bunch of power and she appears for this tiny short amount of time at the beginning of the movie and at the end, I think. And it always was very strange to me that we saw her for such a little amount of time, even though she was kind of such a central character to the movie, at least. And I don't know, she was one of my favorite like female protagonists in any Disney movie just because she was different. For me, like, the Blue Fairy was very mysterious just because she appeared for such a short amount of time, so I always thought of her as very interesting, and that's why I painted her for this piece. I mean, just from seeing the whole wand online and then just thinking back, everything just tied together and I decided I wanted to paint her. So I was very into painting this. Like, I really had a reason to paint the Blue Fairy, and just to keep my inspiration going and to keep myself from getting bored, I listened to A Court of Thorns and Roses by Jaymes for a while painting this, and it was really calming and it really helped me concentrate. It's a really good book, so I recommend it. I mean, I haven't finished it yet, but it's very excellent. And also afterwards, I listened to Kai Engel, who I put a lot of his music in my speed paintings, and I love his music very, very much. He just calms me down. It's so like sad and romantic. I love it so much. So that kind of stuff just helped me kind of gather my thoughts, and it inspired me when I was painting this. Now I want to talk about my inspirations from when I started painting and drawing from when I was small. Actually drawing first. And ever since I was small, I've never really read very much. I'm more of a visual kind of person, and reading, I don't really know. I don't enjoy it very much, especially when there's no illustrations to a book or any cover art. To me, cover art and illustrations in a book are very important. Even right now, I'm 18, I know, but it's super stupid that I need illustrations in a book. I don't need them, but I really enjoy them and I appreciate them because it brings the story to life. And ever since I was small, the books that I read had a bunch of illustrations in them or very good covers, and that's how I would choose a book. I would go to the library and look through all the books and find a book with a really good cover illustration, and that made me want to read it. It wasn't really the contents of the book. And there were a couple of artists that really stuck to me, and I kept looking for their work, and they really inspired me. And like a little quick side note, a lot of people comment in my videos and tell me that I like to borrow or copy the style of so and so. I'm not going to say who. And these artists are a little bit more like my style. Like, they draw more girly things that are fluffier and like cuter looking. And quite honestly, even though a lot of these artists, I really like their work and I follow them, I don't really copy them. I don't really take inspiration from them. And it's going to be a little bit surprising when I tell you what inspirations I actually had when starting out and inspirations I have right now, because it's kind of different from the art that I create. I don't know how this correlates, but books that really inspired me when I was small and artists that inspired me when I was small to start drawing were, of course, just it ties into this painting. The illustrations for Pinocchio by Chris Grimley were so dark but very vivid and lifelike. His illustrations have a bunch of life and message, like a story behind them, so I really like that. The person I think who probably inspired me the most when I was growing up was Tony DiDerlizzi, and I still love his art to this day. It's wonderful. Of course, with his work for the Spiderwick Chronicles and Kenny and the Dragon, and then Ted, and there's countless other books that I just read because he illustrated the covers. I love his art, and I've always loved how the people he's drawn have such angular features, and then all of his creatures have so much life and like this vitality that, I don't know, it's just wonderful. I also loved Quentin Blake, who illustrated anything by Roald Dahl. Just, they were wonderful illustrations with so much life in them. And then Brett Hellquist, who illustrated Series of Unfortunate Events or Chasing Vermeer. Brian Selznick, who illustrated The Doll People and The Invention of Hugo Cabret. Chris Riddle, who illustrated The Edge Chronicles and the online books. And all of these artists I really loved when I was tiny. And quite honestly, if you look at any of their work, I'm going to have all of them linked down below in the description, so please check them out if you're curious to see who they are. None of them are really very girly. If you look at all of their art, I think the basic feature that connects all of them is they have very captivating story-like images. They're illustrators, so they put the story to life with their drawings, and that really inspired me when I was small because drawings had so much power to just show you what words were telling you. It's kind of weird to explain. And I know that my art isn't similar to storybook illustration at all, and it's kind of a bit strange that this would inspire me, but it really did when I was small. And a couple of current inspirations for me right now are probably very many traditional painters. I love them very much, and very realistic things that are a little bit more conceptual and emotional. And I'm sorry for butchering anybody's names. I looked up a couple of these people to see if I could find out how to pronounce their name properly, and I'm sorry if I say some of them wrong, but probably the biggest one for me currently is Henrik Odalen. I hope I said that right. His paintings are amazing. Then Travis Louis, he has these really strange, austere, but very sweet images, and he tells a story with each drawing. Then Evan Mellett Amundsen, he has on Instagram, he like posts every day and he writes a little story with every single drawing he makes, which is pretty amazing. Bao Pham was very much of an inspiration for me when I started digital painting, and I still love his drawings and digital paintings. And then Kid King and Oda are amazing how they paint together. So yeah, a lot of my inspirations right now are more traditional painters, not really anybody girly or like very fluffy looking. But also music inspires me a lot. As I said before, I was listening to Kai Engel, and I love that kind of music that's like dark piano music. It's very nice to me. And then I also love to listen to dark indie playlists. Indie is what I listen to mostly. My favorite artists and the ones that get me into creative mood are Daughter, Adna, The Neighborhood, Lana of course, and songs that really inspire me: Alice by Mononoke, Moondust by Jaymes and 1709 by Whisper. Those are songs that really, really inspire me when I'm painting or drawing. And also Edgar Allan Poe is my favorite writer of all time. I totally recommend him. I love his images, and I really take a lot of inspiration from how everything he talks about is kind of dark, but at the same time he has such vivid descriptions, and he has so much life in his writings. I really love it. So yeah, those are my inspirations for everything. How I painted this painting, my art when I first started out, and then right now what I take inspiration from. Yeah, I will leave all of the artists I mentioned down below. They're a huge long list of people. But check them out if you want to. They're really good artists, and as I said, they're the ones who inspired me when I first started painting and drawing all of their art, so please check them out. Also, if you'd like to buy prints of this painting, I will have links to my shop right at the top of my description. And as always, I am painting in Krita 2.9 with my Huion WH1409 tablet. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a little bit interesting to you. Maybe you learned a little bit about me and the stuff I like and I take inspiration from. If you did like it, please leave me a thumbs up and comment down below if you have any questions or what you think of any of the artists that I mentioned, because I'm sure a couple of you will know at least a couple of these artists. And if you'd like to, subscribe for more, because I put out new videos every single Sunday. And yeah, I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!